other side of the world, let me know where you're calling from just to kick things off. Okay, we've got Claudette and Tuba in Toronto. A lot of Torontonians, as you might expect. Just wanted to see if folks have... we've got Kitchener in the house, Mississauga. Fantastic. And we've got folks from across the GTA so far, so that's fantastic. Now, I will tell you, I'm probably coming slightly further away because I'm coming to you from Mountain View, California, aka Google Town. So I've got self-driving cars circling around my house as I speak. However, I grew up in Buffalo, and so I'm a big fan of just sort of the economy in the GTA and just the exciting opportunities that are available there. So I think that's what we're going to be talking about today. That being said, next question. When did you graduate from George Brown? I want to get a sense of the range of folks in the room here. So did you graduate just this year, a couple years ago? Give us a sense. Okay, Claudette, class of 2022. She Young, 2021. Got a lot of 2022s in the year. Ricardo says 2020, that pandemic year. Yes. And Bill, of course, brand new. I love that, Bill. As is Kale. Fantastic. Okay, so I think a range of about 2019 to just this past year. And then one last question. If you had to rate your LinkedIn skills on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't know, Jeremy, it just seems so intimidating. 10 being, move over, Jeremy, I could teach this workshop in my sleep. Give me your LinkedIn self-evaluation right in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10. So let's just get a sense of where folks are at. And there's no shame being high or low or somewhere in the middle. So Tugba and Spandana are at a 7. Colleen's at a 4. Shi Ying's at a 7. Andrea's at a 6. I love that. Kale's at a 7, 10, and would like to learn more. Let's get you to 9 or 10 today, Kale. Absolutely. And this is great. I would say if I was going to do a little armchair data science, we're looking at something like a mean of maybe, I don't know, 6.5 and a median of a 7, which is great. That is the perfect moment to begin on because you're already knowledgeable enough to be dangerous, but you're hungry to learn more. So, Bill, with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and record this session so we have that for your records. And actually, I think the recording has already started, so excuse me. I think we're good to go there. Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to take it away. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Just make sure that we're all on the same page. And the first thing I want to do is I want to start by giving a little love to Bill. Now, as you may know, Bill has been working super hard behind the scenes since last year to put together all these events and all the support. So please send Bill a lot of love. And there are a couple ways to do it. You could use the emoji button. You could put in some words of praise. You can even put in GIFs in Microsoft. So please share a lot of love for our amazing friend Bill. Now, a little bit about your speaker tonight. I'm coming to you.
Also here, so thank you, Christina, for organizing these.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Big shout out to Christina and to Carmel. And Bill, I just want to confirm, can you see my screen on your side?
Yeah, I can see that you're sharing your screen.
Okay, awesome. Just want to make sure about that. Okay, so what I wanted to share with you is I've had this very lucky career. I actually began my career as a kindergarten teacher of all things, but ultimately found my way to Silicon Valley, and I currently lead the marketing team at Khan Academy. However, the one place that really transformed my career, more than just all these companies in general, was getting a chance to work at LinkedIn. And that's for the simple reason that as soon as I got inside LinkedIn, I could see there were all these insider secrets, all these things that controlled our destiny that we as job seekers don't know about. So I've made it my mission for the last decade to work with top students and alums around the world to land the jobs they love using these tools. And all I ask in return is 3 simple favors. Number 1, I'm going to be throwing some pop quizzes at you, and they're going to say, Jeremy, I thought I was done with pop quizzes. I graduated. But don't worry, these will all be in the name of fun and learning. Number 2, I would especially love for you to volunteer for one of the 3 live role plays we do. Because if you volunteer for those role plays, you're not only going to learn really fast, you're also going to get a free copy of my brand new ChatGPT book sent right to you in the GTA right after the session. So a nice little bonus for anyone who volunteers. And then third and finally, even if you don't feel like volunteering, and that's okay, at least take everything you're seeing on my screen and replicate it on your screen. Make your changes to LinkedIn, to your profile in real time, and you're going to learn so much more. So with that said, time for the first pop quiz. If you had to guess, how many resumes is the average recruiter juggling at any top company across Canada? Is it 100, 1,000, or 10,000 resumes? Come to the chat right now, Give me your very best guess. And it could be at HSBC, it could be at TD, it could be at the Toronto Maple Leafs. How many resumes are these recruiters getting? Tugba says C. Claudette agrees. Svendana agrees. Gail says B. And KL agrees with Gail, as does Maya. Lena says C. Svetlana says B. So the B's and the C's are duking out. But to my everlasting sorrow, as a former recruiter myself, the answer is a lot closer to C. Check out the math. It turns out, according to the world's largest HR organization, that the average recruiter gets about 30 or 40 jobs to fill at any given time. The average job attracts 250 resumes. Do the math, and these poor recruiters are buried under an avalanche of applications. So what do they do about it? Specifically, if you had to guess how many seconds of attention they are giving each of these resumes on average, is it 6 seconds, 25 seconds, or a full 60 seconds? A, B, or C, right back to the chat. Okay, this time Claudette says B, Tugba says B, Carmel says A, interesting. Spandana says B, Maya says A, Spilana says A, Luna says A. All of a sudden the A's are taking the lead, and indeed you are correct. This is the most critical insight of this entire session, which is even if we spend 66 hours working on our resumes, on the other side of the screen, we are getting a mere blink of an eye in terms of attention. So what this session is really about is making sure that we all understand exactly what it's like to be a recruiter, because they're our key audience. And then once we understand how they do their jobs, we can leverage those insights to make sure we're discovered and to make sure we get access to opportunity. So here's the first big breakthrough. If you recognize that these poor recruiters are drowning in applications, one of the first things that you're going to realize is they're not just going to sit there and read every last application. No way. They are going to go to LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a gold mine of opportunity if you're a recruiter. It's got 1 billion professionals around the world, and you can find the exact right person at any moment. So the only question is, what are they searching for? Is it degree? Is it school? Is it job title? And this time, Carmel and Bill, your alums have nailed it, because everyone is saying C. And indeed, that is the truth. Inside LinkedIn, when recruiters are looking for really talented candidates, they always start with function. And so, to really help you understand what it's like to be a recruiter, what I'm going to be taking you in today is not to the typical LinkedIn, the free version that you and I use every day, but instead a special version called LinkedIn Recruiter. And this is so exclusive that LinkedIn charges $10,000 US per year per seat. And the reason they can get away with that is, let's face it, more than Google and search, more than Amazon and e-commerce, LinkedIn has a monopoly when it comes to the world's talent data. There is no other place like LinkedIn to find all of the world's professionals. That's what makes it a goldmine for recruiters. That's what makes it critical for us to understand as job seekers. And so as we look at the screen together, and you know the recruiters are searching for function first and foremost, I now want you to look at your profile. And if it says something like, here's my old job, or here's where I went to school, that's a good start. But where I want you to get by the end of this session is broadcasting a super clear signal to the world of recruiters, here's what I can do for you next. And to help you get there, and to give away the very first copy of this book, I would love for you to raise your hand inside Microsoft Teams, or just chat in, hey Jeremy, I'm in. Whomever is first gets the first book, and they will help you figure out what your perfect path is, no matter where you're coming from. So let me just check the participant list here so we can see who's got their hand up. And I see that Bridget was first this time. So Bridget, congratulations. Feel free to turn your microphone, your webcam if you like, and come join us. And I'm going to show you exactly what you need to unlock your next chapter. And as Bridget unmutes, feel free to send a lot of love Bridget's way for being such a brave volunteer. Welcome to Bridget. And Bridget, once you're unmuted, just go ahead and let me know you're on. And if you're having any trouble with the unmuting function, just let me know as well. You can chat something in or try clicking that mic icon. Okay, Bridget, are you able to unmute?
Hi.
There you go. Hey, welcome, Bridget. How are you?
I'm good.
Good, good. Bridget, thank you so much for joining tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Bridget, before we dive in, just tell us all a little bit about yourself. You know, when did you go to George Brown? What did you study? What have you been up to?
Okay. Really quickly, because I don't want to kill anyone's time. I graduated during the thick of COVID in 2020,
Whoa.
and
Wow.
I took special events management.
Nice.
And then, of course, with COVID, I couldn't get a job.
Yeah. Oh,
And I feel like some graduates that are in the same boat as me may have fell behind in the workforce,
mm,
find work. So now I was lucky enough to get work before I graduated full time, but it wasn't in special events. And then it led me to e-commerce. So I've been doing
ooh,
that for 2 years.
got it.
Yeah.
And are you thinking that you want to build a career there, even though I know it was not your first choice? Or are you thinking about, now that the world is reopening, let me get back to the event world?
I mean, I go back and forth between the two. I really like e-commerce because I like the customer service component. Having said that, I really like special events. So I've been
Yeah.
fortunate enough to work for TIFF
Ooh, cool.
side, and I do that every September. But to get a full role in special events would be ideal as well. So I'm still
Okay.
on. I just can't decide. I'm still not set.
Yeah. And this is the perfect conversation to have right now because it's the brand new year, 2024. This is the time to consider what the possibilities look like. So, Bridget, if you want to learn more about how you might break into special events, even a couple years after you graduated, would you be interested in talking to some George Brown alumni who are in that field?
100%.
Okay, so check this out. This is where LinkedIn gets really fun. Is before we even worry about applying for jobs and all that good stuff, and we'll get there, we want to just figure out what's a good fit for us. Like what's going to be a good use of our talents and our passion. So what I want everyone to do is to come over to this George Brown page on LinkedIn and specifically to this alumni tab. This is where my team's efforts went when I was at LinkedIn. And it was all about helping students and alums get access to other alums so they can learn and build their careers. And that link is right there in the chat, so I want everyone to try that out. Now, in your case, Bridget, is it okay if I do a search for special events just to sort of get a sense of who's out there?
Sure.
Okay, so we've got 170,000 alums. Let's see who has that phrase, special events, somewhere on their profile. Sure enough, there are a lot of folks. They're at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, Four Seasons, TD, University of Toronto, Steam Whistle Brewing. So many fascinating organizations across the GTA. Are any of these organizations of interest to you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I see Four Seasons on the top of the list.
Yeah, why not start at the top, right? So let's just pick Four Seasons, and obviously you can choose as many as you like. And I encourage everyone else, follow along on your own screen. Search for your own dream organizations. But here are some folks, in the event side over at Four Seasons. So let's come over here and say, who should we reach out to? These are folks doing some really fascinating stuff. So why don't we start with maybe someone who's in the hospitality side of things. So working on events, curating these experiences, doing the stuff that you might love to do someday. Now, if you want to get in touch with Daniel, tell me this. This is kind of like a career game show, Bridget. Do you want to do door number 1, send him a message, door number 2, click follow, or door number 3, click the more button? Which is the right way to get to Daniel?
Between the three? Well,
Between the three.
I would just message him.
Yeah, and that seems right because, again, it's all big and blue, and LinkedIn's making it really easy to do that. But it turns out it's a trap. What does LinkedIn want you to do just to send a message to a fellow alum? And if anyone knows, put it in the chat or shout it out. What is Bridget going to have to do to get access to this message?
Pay them.
Pay them, yes, oh my goodness. And tell me this, Bridget, do you have 50 or $100 a month, Canadian, just to spend on LinkedIn to send messages to alumni?
No.
No way, no way. And I can't in good conscience encourage you to do that. So here's a workaround. What I want you to do instead is to click the more button and then connect. And it turns out, even though LinkedIn buries it sometimes, that is a perfectly valid way of getting in touch with anyone on LinkedIn without paying LinkedIn a cent. So everyone, next time you see Bridget at a George Brown reunion, please buy her a drink because she saved you hundreds of dollars for the rest of your career. Okay, but back to your story here, Bridget. We've got to write a little message to Daniel to personalize this outreach. What could we possibly start with when we begin this little message? What should we say in the first sentence?
What should you say in the first sentence?
And put yourself in Daniel's shoes. What's going to catch his attention right away?
I'm stumped. I can't think of anything at this moment.
Okay, let's definitely do as another old game so we should say. Let's phone a friend. What does the George Brown alumni community think? So Spandana says it's nice to connect. We graduated from the same college, and Spandana nailed it. You know, one of the most powerful things that ties you together is you've had this shared experience. Right. You're a member of the same tribe, so to speak. So you say, "Hi, Daniel, as a fellow GBC alum who shares your passion for amazing events, I was thrilled to come across your profile." Okay, that's always a good place to start. A little flattery, a little bit of connectivity. Now, this is the big pivot. Do you want to say, Daniel, I went to the same school as you, give me a job? Or do you want to say, Daniel, I went to the same school as you, I want to ask you some questions and learn from you? Which do you think is right, Bridget?
I'd probably go with number one.
Oh, give me a job?
Well, probably that's a little too bold. So then.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, you know, if you already knew Daniel and you were just connecting with him on LinkedIn after meeting him in the real world, maybe that's okay. But if he's a total stranger to you, even if you went to George Brown, I think it's a little bit forward, a little bit off-putting to make it very transactional. Like, just give me a job. Mm-hmm. Instead, check out what Bill said. It says, I'd love to learn from your experience. And why do you think that's so appealing to Daniel? Why does that tug at his heartstrings, do you think, Bridget?
Well, it makes you relatable, and it open him to wanting to speak to you.
And here's something that you guys might not appreciate as relatively new alumni, is that as you go along on life's journey, you're going to encounter this idea of generativity. This is something from a famous psychologist in the last century, which is as you enter that mid-career phase, you're less focused on, oh, I've got to be super successful and get a great job, and you're more focused on paying it forward to the next generation. And so I think for someone like Daniel, he's at the stage where he's like at the top of his game. He can't even go any higher, but he's thinking, how can I actually plant the seeds for my legacy? So I'd love to learn from your experience is great. And then last question, do you want to ask for an hour of his time tomorrow or maybe 10 minutes next week? What do you think, Bridget?
I would probably say I would probably give him time. So I would say 10 minutes next week, or I could also say, I would start with that and then say, let me know if that works or if there's another time, like open it to them as well.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I think one of the key other psychological insights here is that we all are very sort of wary of anything that feels too aggressive too soon. Like, whoa, an hour of my time, I don't even know you. 10 minutes next week, hey, that's just getting your foot in the door. To say, I know you must be incredibly busy, you know, with all the events going on, but any chance you have even 10 minutes next week. And there you go. In 3 sentences, you've gone from a total stranger to a member of the same tribe who's playing to his a desire for generativity and makes it easy for him to say yes no matter how busy he is. And I'm putting that template into the chat because I want every single alum to start using it right away. Don't just watch Bridget and be like, Bridget, you're amazing, although she is. Say, hey, I can do this too. And that's a good template to start with. Now, one last question, Bridget, because I know Daniel's going to say yes to this and you're going to have a chance to chat with him. What could you possibly ask him in those 10 or 15 minutes to decide if his path is a good fit for you?
How long he's been in the role? What has he learned? What does he do in terms of projects? And who would be the key people to speak to in, for instance, having an interview or an information interview?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would tell you is this is a great start because you just want to get a sense of what his job is like, what it feels like. But now I want you to get a little selfish, not in a very like transactional way, but in a way that helps you move forward in your adventure. So think about the world as like a Venn diagram, if you remember back to math class. On one side of the Venn diagram is here's who you are as a unique person, your skills, your passions, your interests, and out there is the world of work, all the different things that the companies require. You've got to figure out if you plus event management or special events is a perfect match or totally worlds apart. So tell me this about yourself, Bridget. I know it's kind of like soul searching, but like what kind of work do you love doing? What makes you really happy in a job?
Forming relationships with the people I work with.
Ah, and so all of a sudden, question number 5 is, tell me about who you work with, right? How do you work with them? How do you build relationships? And you can imagine there could be 2 very different answers. Like if Daniel said, hey, I actually do most of my work solo. I'm working in spreadsheets, I'm working on Gantt charts, and I only bring in people later on in the process. How would that feel to you?
Feel pretty great.
Well, I don't know. Let's be honest. If it's like all of a sudden this great relational job is really just a spreadsheet jockey, maybe it's not the job you expected it to be, right? Maybe it would be great for one of your classmates, but not for you. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if he says, hey, I am working super closely with this team of chefs and floral arrangers and all these event specialists all day long, maybe it's like ding, 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 this is the dream. This is a chance to do the work you love and get paid a lot of money for it. How does that feel, Bridget?
That sounds pretty good.
That does sound really good because, again, that is the foundation of all career success. It's not about luck or just sort of applying to random jobs. It's figuring out first who you are, what's out there in the world, and is there a match? And once you find that match, I want you to hold on to it tight and pursue it because that's going to give you so much success in your life. And Bridget, you have shared so much success with all of your classmates. They just learned a ton from you, as have I. Thank you so much, Bridget.
My pleasure.
Beautifully done. Happy New Year. Okay, so everyone, send so much love, so many New Year's wishes to Bridget in the chat. And if you've got questions about, hey, tell me more about the questions to ask, or how do I build rapport with an alum? I'm really uncomfortable in that conversation. Let's tackle those questions now. Now, if you want to ask a question, you can ask it in the chat, you can raise your hand, or you could just unmute and just start asking live, whatever's most comfortable. So let me just pause for a moment and see if there are any questions before we move into the next section. I love all the love that Bridget is getting. That is fantastic. Okay, I think folks are feeling good. And actually, hopefully the quietness means that everyone is actually working on sending out their messages to alumni right now, which is my dream. I don't want you to walk away from here saying, hey, that was a nice demonstration for someone else. I want you to walk away from tonight saying, hey, I've already taken 3 steps in the right direction. So send out those messages. Okay, next thing, big pop quiz. If you were a recruiter at the Four Seasons, at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, at any of these top organizations, and you had all these billion candidates to look through, how do you decide whose profile is worthy of your attention? Is it A, the classes they took at George Brown, B, the keywords they listed, or C, the grades they worked so hard to earn? And again, I've tried to fool your alums here, Bill and Carmel, but they are unfoolable because Nadia and Shiying and Lena and Maria have all nailed it. LinkedIn is absolutely a keyword devouring monster. And so I want to take you on a crash course into the belly of the beast to see how it works. So here we are inside LinkedIn Recruiter, that $10,000 a year tool. And I'm a recruiter who's searching for a project manager in Chicago with these skills. And lo and behold, who rises to the top of my search result? But Emily and Channing and Aubrey. And why are they here? Not randomly, not by coincidence, but by design. Because LinkedIn's engineers have trained the algorithm to focus first and foremost on your headline, this little piece of text right below your name. And if that headline doesn't match the job title I'm searching for, you're going to fall way off my radar screen. And why is that? Well, here's the savvy thing that LinkedIn's engineers realized. They all know that we want to game our profiles, we want to game our resumes, and it's really easy to do that with your experience section or your about section because they're so long. You can stuff all these keywords in there. But your headline is limited to only 220 characters, shorter than a tweet or an X or whatever we're calling it these days. And as a result, it's the most authentic part of your profile and it gets the most weight in the algorithm. So to help you find your most important keywords and to give out a free profile makeover right here on the spot, just raise your hand on Teams as fast as possible. And whosever hand goes up first will get that opportunity. So again, I'm going back to the people section, and I see that Eduarda was first this time. So Eduarda, feel free to go ahead and unmute, come join us, and I cannot wait to make your profile shine. Welcome, Eduarda. Again, as Eduarda logs in, everyone send a ton of love their way. Welcome, Eduarda.
Hello.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you for joining, Eduarda. And just like Bridget before, you give us a little sense of your George Brown time and then what you've been up to since.
About me? Sorry.
Yeah, just so we have a little bit of background as we get into your profile.
So I'm from Brazil. I came
Ooh, cool.
to 2012 to do my postgrad at George Brown. Then I went back to Brazil and
Hey, Eduarda, sorry to interrupt. There's a weird echo coming through. I don't know if you have like your speaker on and a microphone next to it. It's kind of like the echo that you hear when those things are reverbing. You want to try one more time?
Yeah, let me just put my...
Yeah. Now you sound better, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, I went back to Brazil after George Brown.
Yeah.
Then came back to Canada last year.
Nice.
Yeah, and this year I started working at Animal Justice, which is a nonprofit here.
Whoa, super cool.
Yeah.
And as you think about your next steps, do you want to stay with the organization? Do you want to explore other options or other functions? What's sort of exciting for you? Eduardo? Yeah, go for it, Eduardo. Yeah.
I'm not actively trying to find a new job, but
Sure.
I love the plant-based and alternative protein industry.
Ooh.
So that would be one that I keep my eyes open to, like, opportunities.
Very cool. And just because recruiters are always obsessed with job title and function, as we talked about in the last section, what is the specific function you would want to play in that plant-based space?
Like, I haven't even thought about it. I thought about like business development or something in marketing and branding.
Okay, that's great. And so let me just give you a little taste of how this feels for a recruiter, and then we can use that to think about your profile. So check this out, Eduardo, and I want everyone else to try this. If you were to come into LinkedIn and you were to do a search, the way that a recruiter does a search in their version, you might say, show me someone in business development, and maybe like the plant-based space. So we're going to do a search for that. I want you to check out these results, Eduardo, because these are the folks who are winning the LinkedIn lottery. When you see Jeremy and Vincent and Hans and Ted and Daniel and Linda here, what do they all have in common? How have they all risen to the top of my screen?
They all have plant-based and business development in the title.
Exactly. Not even in their job title per se, but in their headline.
Yeah, on the headline, yeah.
This little piece of text right below their name. And even though it always seems like a throwaway, like who cares what the headline says, as you can tell, it really punches above its weight class because it is critical to the algorithm. So Eduarda, would you be okay with me pulling up your profile, not to criticize it, but to shower it with love?
Sure.
Okay. And then you got to keep rooting on Eduarda here because it takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there and especially to share your profile with your class. So thank you so much, Eduarda. Now, I'm going to pull up your profile and we're going to start to think about all these things that are clearly so critical to the LinkedIn algorithm and the recruiters who use it. So here's Eduarda's profile. Now, if you want to be found for business development and plant-based, what is holding you back today? What's stopping you, Eduarda?
I think there's nothing about plant-based.
Yeah, and nothing specifically in your headline, right? Because that's that critical first section.
Yeah.
So, tell me this. Have you ever done business development? Have you ever worked in the plant-based space before?
Not directly.
Okay, so here is the big thing that a lot of people get stuck on is they say, well, I haven't done it before, so how could I put it in my headline? I'm not there yet. Well, here is some good advice from Wayne Gretzky, the greatest hockey player of all time. He said, the reason that I'm always more successful than others is they're skating where the puck is today. I'm skating where the puck is headed next. And in this case, you want to help recruiters Not just focus on where you're sitting at this moment, but where you're headed in your career. And the way you could do that is you could incorporate that into your headline. You could say something to the effect of, exploring business development opportunities in the plant-based space. Or you could say, passionate about plant-based business development work. Or you could say, future plant-based business development leader, whatever kind of variation you want. The beautiful thing is the algorithm doesn't care. All it says is you've got the most important keyword, your desired job title, in your most important section. So that's the way around that. Now, Eduarda, because you are currently employed, I know this is a little tricky. Do you think your current boss would be very happy if you were to add that to your headline today?
No.
Probably not, right?
I mean, depends on how I put it. If I put something like enthusiastic about plant-based industry or something around that, it would be okay.
That's true. And it's probably some way to get a wiggle room in there. I will just say, if you're feeling like you're stuck because of your current role, the next best thing to changing your headline is to change your open to work section. So hopefully people have seen this before, which is at the very top of your profile, there's a section that says open to work. And you can shine a signal here that says exactly what you want. Business development manager in Toronto doing this kind of work. And guess what? You can share this signal with everyone, or you can share it only with recruiters, including only recruiters who don't work at your current company. So that way you don't have your HR department ratting you out to your boss. So if you want to get the next best thing, just make sure that you're turning this signal on. Okay, Eduarda?
Okay.
Okay, and everyone else out there, either update your headline right now or update open to work, so at least you're getting the right signal to the right people. Okay, that's step number one. Now, Eduarda, if we were to go back to the LinkedIn recruiter screen and we were to say, hey, there's 3,000 results. That's too many profiles to look at. What do you think recruiters might filter for beyond just job titles? What's like the next thing that they go to for the next stage of their search?
Some like the work, some specific work things that I may have added, like time.
Yeah, and check this out. I love that Doreen put it in all caps. Skills! Because skills are how recruiters compare different candidates from different backgrounds. Like, you may have worked at a different company from someone else, but at the end of the day, if you want that business development job, you have to have these critical skills. So, question for you, Eduarda. What do you think are the top 3 most important skills that recruiters are looking for to fill these jobs? And you don't need to know the exact right answer. Just take a guess at it.
Sales, marketing, relationship building.
Sounds good to me. But here's the thing. Eduarda, when it comes to your future, when it comes to building a successful career, do you want to guess at it or do you want to know the truth?
No.
Yeah, that's right. You want to actually see what's happening behind the scenes. So check this out. It turns out that there is a place on LinkedIn where recruiters are handing you a list of these important skills every single day. Any guesses, Eduarda, or anyone from the George Brown community? What is that place? Where do recruiters give you those most important keywords?
Job posts.
Job posts, yes! Eduarda, you are on fire. It turns out that if we went from a people search to a job search, what we will discover is that inside these business development jobs is all the stuff that matters. We need someone who has experience with KPIs, with partnerships, with relationships, client contracts, discovery calls, all the stuff that brings these jobs to life. Now, that's a good start, but I want to make this really personal for you, Eduarda, because you've put your own pride on the line here, which is amazing. Would you be interested in knowing exactly which of these keywords you're doing well on and which ones you need to improve a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Poor Eduarda, I really put you on the spot, didn't I? I apologize. Well, again, this is all in the name of love, all in the name of learning. And I want everyone to just shed so much love right now Eduarda's way because she is really putting herself on the spot to help every George Brown alum. So let her know that you appreciate it. And what I want you to do is I want you to come over to a site called jobscan.co. I'll put the link in the chat. And the reason I love JobScan so much is it'll give you the one thing that LinkedIn will never give you and the thing that Eduardo deserves, which is the truth. What's really happening behind the scenes. So here's what we're going to do, Eduardo. We're going to grab your existing profile, all your keywords, all your skills, everything you got on there. And then we're going to come right over to JobScan and compare that side by side with a job description. The actual keywords that are critical to getting found for these roles. So here are the skills, here are the requirements. And now, are you ready, Eduardo, for your moment of truth?
Let's see.
Okay, bro, Eduardo, you are so brave. Everyone, I want to do a little digital drum roll for Eduardo here. So come to the chat. We're going to count down from 5. Put in your favorite drum emoji. It could be the marching drum, the snare drum, whatever, the bongo drum. And we're going to count down. Here we go. Here is the moment of truth. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are about to see Eduardo's match rate. And this is what is driving the LinkedIn algorithm. The higher your match rate, the higher you go on the screen. And even though I know the match rate is low today, Eduardo, you have the ability at your fingertips to change that in the near future. So here's what the algorithm is telling you. It says that these are the things that this particular company is really obsessed with. Things like client acquisition, marketing strategies, social media, client onboarding, on and on and on. And every time you see a red X, it's saying we could not find that keyword on your profile. So question for you, Eduardo, and this is the critical one. Of all of these skills, are there any ones where you do have a little bit of experience with it, even if you didn't use that exact language?
Yeah.
Okay, just pick one just to start with. Which is one skill you already have?
Marketing strategy.
Marketing strategies, beautiful. And of course, who would write marketing strategies on their resume, right? It's kind of a weird phrase, but obviously that's what the company cares about. So Eduardo, where inside your profile could we get you credit for marketing strategies? Where does that belong?
Let me see.
And if anyone knows, make a suggestion in the
them.
chat. Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so I want to call it something important here, which is you will notice that JobScan is not just saying, hey, here's an important skill. It's actually saying, hey, here's how important it is because it was listed so many times. And what that tells you is it's not just about binary matching, like, yes, I have the skill. It's about keyword density. How many times have you listed that skill as a proxy for how deep is your expertise? So let's get multiple opportunities here. And let's start with the most obvious one. I think the most obvious one is your experience section. And one of the first things that I noticed, Eduardo, is that even though you have these great organizations, you don't have any bullet points listed. So I have a question for you, Eduardo. On your computer hard drive right now, do you have a copy of your resume, like in Google Docs or PDF, that has lots of juicy bullet points and lots of juicy keywords?
Yes.
Yes, I had a feeling. No George Brown alum would ever go without that. Now, big question. How many times every single day, Eduardo, is your resume on your hard drive being scanned by recruiters?
Probably none.
Probably none. Listen how that happens inside your computer, which is probably a good problem to have. I kind of doubt recruiters will do it. Like Anita said, likely never. On the other hand, how many times do you think your LinkedIn profile is being scanned by recruiters every single day, Eduardo?
A few times.
Try a few million times. That's how many recruiter searches happen on LinkedIn every single day. And every search searches every last profile, searches every last word. That's why recruiters pay so much for this tool, because they have access to every piece of talent data in the world. And so, Eduardo, every time they search for something like marketing strategies that's on your resume, but not on your profile, that's a missed opportunity. So step number 1 for you and every George Brown alum, paste in your resume bullet points as fast as possible. Okay, Eduardo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's step number 1. Now, where else could we list those skills? It turns out that your About section is kind of the opposite of your headline. Your headline is only like 200 characters. Your About section is 2,000 characters. So one thing I would recommend everyone do is that you use your About section to get found for the skills that you have. And you can use a template just like mine, where you talk about the things that you're great at, and you make sure that you get found by the algorithm. So feel free to use my template, it's in the chat, and paste that into your About section. And then one last question, Eduarda. Once you've covered experience, once you've covered about, what is probably the most obvious section to list your skills in?
The skills part?
The skills section, yeah. And I've got good news for you. Every single LinkedIn user is entitled to 50 skills. So you actually have 6 blank slots. You could fill in marketing strategies, you could fill in client acquisition right away because those slots are open and ready. Okay, Eduarda?
Okay.
Okay, Eduarda, I really put you through the ringer right now, and I apologize, but you have been completely courageous and completely awesome. You deserve a bonus. Now, I know that you graduated from George Brown already, so the last thing you want is more homework. But I'm going to give you a little homework assignment that I think is super powerful. Because if you can spend a little time this January getting credit for the skills that you already have, you will find that come February, you are hearing from recruiters who are excited about your skills. And so, Eduarda, here is your very last homework assignment of your George Brown career, and that is just get credit for the things you're already awesome at. Thank you so much, Eduarda. You were fabulous.
Thank you.
All right. Everyone, blow it up with love for Eduarda. And again, the best way to keep the love flowing is to keep the questions flowing. So if you've got questions about the profile, the cover photo, the headshot, LinkedIn endorsements, it's all fair game. And you can put those questions in the chat, you can raise your hand, or you can just shout them out live. It's all good. I'll just pause for a moment to see if there are any questions about LinkedIn profiles. Okay, I think folks are feeling good. I'm going to have one last Q&A opportunity at the very end, so if you've got some questions that pop up, get ready for that. For now, I've got one last question for you. And this is the big one. If you were a recruiter at any of these top organizations we've been talking about, and you had 3 strong candidates, but only 1 interview slot left, who is getting that slot every single time? Candidate A, who applied on your website, candidate B, who came in via LinkedIn, or candidate C, who got referred by one of your colleagues. And again, Bill, Carnell, I'm so proud of you guys because the George Brown community is crushing this, question after question. Tugbo is saying C, Howun is saying C, Angela is saying C, Spandana is saying C, and indeed referrals are probably the greatest gift to job seeker that have ever been invented. Check this out. This chart represents millions of job seekers across dozens of industries. And even though the jobs are different, it turns out that a lot of us basically apply the same way. Whether you call it a career site or a job board, we are applying online. There's only one little problem. Even though we're all applying the same way, we're all applying wrong. Because when you look at how many people are hired through these channels, it's a small fraction of how many people are coming in through the channels in the first place. On the other hand, if you checked out this employee referral line, fewer than 1 in 10 candidates are being referred, and yet they are taking up the vast plurality of the one thing that actually matters, they're getting hired. That's what you want, and that's what I want for you. So let's figure out how to get a referral at any company in the world, no matter how competitive. And to give away the last copy of this book, all you've got to do is raise your hand right now. Whomever is first gets that last copy, and all the glory to close out this session. And so our final volunteer is going to be Fama. So Fama, feel free to unmute your line, and let's do this together. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks.
How's everything going on your side?
It's going perfect. I'm happy that I participated this session. It's really helpful.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, and I'm so glad that you came out because I know it's it's late, it's the winter, but I think this is a great time to focus on sort of reimagining our futures because we've got the whole year ahead of us. So, Fama, tell me this. What is the name of an organization, maybe even a job, that you would be super excited to get, maybe in this year or next year, but that is very hard to get into? Give me a really tough challenge.
For me, I mean, for my field, you mean?
Yeah, so like name an organization in your field that is known as like a really tough place to get a job.
Like Microsoft.
Oh, Microsoft, super cool. Everyone wants to work at Microsoft because of AI and their partnerships. What would you love to do at Microsoft, Fama?
So I'm working as a digital marketing specialist right now.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Cool.
but the company I'm working, it's like ImageSim. It's a very small one, non-profit one. But I mean, after I graduated in the December of 2022, I started like applying to different big companies, big names. Although I had like a couple of friends there at Microsoft, there are like sales managers. They referred me. I got the interview and then stopped there.
Okay, got it. So you've already followed this advice, which is amazing, and you got the interview, which is great.
Yeah.
Let's just show everyone how it's done so that way they can enjoy that success too. Now, Pharma, let's imagine that you did not already have those friends at Microsoft, because in some ways that's too easy. Like, if you know someone on the inside, of course you'll ask them for a favor, no big deal.
Right.
But if you don't know anyone at Microsoft, do you have to give up, or is there still a way to get a referral?
I think there might be a way, because other than Microsoft, there are some big other names that I wanted to work with. So I went and then I sent some people on LinkedIn some requests for connections, and then I'm chatting with them from now and then. So I think that might be another way for getting a referral if you know someone on LinkedIn as well.
That's right, exactly. Because there doesn't have to be a really dear friend on the inside.
Right.
It could be a friend of a friend. It could be a mutual connection that actually opens that door. And let me show everyone how this is done. So the first thing you want to do, and I want everyone doing this on your own screen, is search for your dream organization. Maybe it's Microsoft. Maybe it's the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Toronto Raptors. Who knows? Whatever it is, pull up that page on LinkedIn, and then come into the Microsoft page and say, hey, I want to figure out who could potentially open some doors for me. So I click on the number of employees right over here, and all of a sudden, I've got a company directory for Microsoft that is more detailed than the one that sits on their servers in Redmond. This is powerful. So let's figure out how we filter this list. Rama, do you want to filter based on connections, based on education? How do you find someone on the inside who has something in common with you?
Maybe, yeah, for sure connection, but maybe job title as well.
Yeah, and let's look at the best of both worlds. So first thing is, if you do a first degree search and you can't find any first degree connections, just go to second degree and say, hey, I want to find the people who may not necessarily know me already, but we know someone in common. And it turns out, through the magical exponential math of second degree, I have 7,800 connections at Microsoft at that second degree level. And then we'll say something next. We'll say all filters show us the people who have marketing in their job title. How does that sound, Fatima?
Yeah,
okay, so now we're really honing in on the exact right people.
Right.
Aha, look at this. We've got someone doing the exact kind of marketing that you're excited about on the inside. Now, if we wanted to get in touch with Caroline, we could reach out to her directly. But again, Caroline went to a different school. She's in a different location. It seems really hard.
Right.
But I promise you, there's something on this screen, Fama, that binds us to Caroline in a super powerful way. What is that thing?
I think the mutual connections.
Exactly. In this case, I say, hey, Noam, I don't know Caroline, but you do. Would you mind introducing me? And Noam says, hey, anything for a friend. I'd be happy to make the connection. So Noam goes over to Caroline. Says, Caroline, you have to chat with Fama. She is a rising star in the digital marketing space. And if she goes to Google or Shopify or any of your competitors, you will regret it to your dying day. Caroline says, okay, I'll meet with her, no problem. So now you have this chat with this really powerful insider. What's your strategy during this chat, Fama? Do you want to come in and just ask for a referral, or is there a better approach?
I think maybe I might give them a little bit of context, about my background and work experience, and then maybe lead them through this funnel.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to start with a little bit of background, then you want to play to generativity again, right? You want to ask her questions about her experience. How did you end up at Microsoft? What's your experience been like? What do you love about it? What drives you crazy? And now you're starting to build a little connective tissue. So let's say that at some point, Caroline has to run to a really important AI meeting, and you're afraid that you're about to lose the chance to get a referral. Any ideas, Fama, how you can plant a seed that will eventually grow into a referral? What's one last thing you can say to Caroline before she has to go?
Maybe if she knows any department or related to marketing or, I don't know, sales or anything they're hiring or they're looking for someone with my experience. I'm very shy about asking, but anyhow, I'm here to learn.
No, me too. Like, it was funny. Like, I kind of play this crazy character on the webinars, but I'm actually kind of an introvert. Like, after the webinar, I'm going to take a nap for an hour just to recover. Right. But the reality is like, I hate to say, Caroline, can you give me a referral or give me a job? What I say instead, and I found this to be very successful, is you say, Caroline, before you go, if you were in my shoes and trying to break into Microsoft for the very first time, what would you be doing? How would you be making the most of this opportunity? And the framing of that, where they're empathizing with you and they're thinking about you as sort of a future them, basically a mini me, they say, hey, here's what I would be doing. I'd be trying to get a referral. I'd be happy to refer you, send me your resume. And all of a sudden the door is open to you because you had them thinking about what it's like to be in your shoes. So I think that's a really powerful question to ask. Now, even if Caroline doesn't offer a referral right away, what you can do is you can still stay in touch. So let's say, for instance, that Caroline gives you a little bit of homework, Fama. She says, hey, read this blog post about our marketing strategy. Check out this course all about digital marketing at Microsoft. If she gives you that homework, do you forget about it? Do you forget about Caroline? Or do you follow up with her?
Yeah, of course, follow up.
Yeah, and you say, of course, follow up, but you would be surprised. I've spoken to about 1,000 students who wanted jobs at Google and Khan Academy and all these places. I've heard from very few of them afterwards because most people don't follow up. But Fama, you're going to put a reminder on your calendar. Like 1 month from now, you follow up with Caroline. You say, thanks for that great advice. I read the blog post. I took the course. It was amazing. And then when your dream job shows up on the Microsoft job site and you know that a referral gives you a 10x advantage over people who only apply online, how do you ask for a referral at this point, Fama? What do you say?
Not sure, really.
Yeah, that was hard too. Well, I want you to have the courage of your convictions because you've played the long game. You've built the relationship from scratch. You've gotten to know an insider. And now you say, Caroline, I just came across this dream job on the Microsoft website. Would you do me the honor of referring me? If so, here's the job. Here's my resume. And if not, no worries. It's just been great getting to know you. And even though it's a no pressure ask, why is Caroline almost 100% likely to say yes? What does she get, Fama, if she refers you and you are hired? And think very selfishly.
Selfishly? Oh, the referral bonus or something?
Yes, you get the big referral bonus. And I know from my friends at Microsoft, that could be $5,000, it could be $10,000, depending on the job. So that's not a meaningless amount of money. And then, of course, there's the emotional benefits. She feels like she's done a really good job for someone else. She has a generativity feeling, and she's paying it forward to the next generation. So no matter what motivates Caroline, referrals are a win-win. A win for you, of course, but also a win for the referrer. And that's why it takes the guts to ask, because it's so powerful. And Fama, you are so gutsy, so brave. I am so impressed by you, and I can't wait to see and cheer on all your next steps.
Yeah, sure. I just have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
so
go
it
for it.
happens to me all the time. I'm just building connections. Sometimes I know that, like, I don't know, 70, 80% of the connections I'm building on LinkedIn is just for later on that I might ask for their favor. I mean, for me to find a position in their company. But how do they feel if, I mean, both sides know that this relation is going to be built so that we are going to benefit from the person who is like working in Microsoft. But is it not like, I mean, I don't know why for me it feels a little bit bad to do that. I mean, and that's why I'm not increasing my connections on LinkedIn. Somewhere I stopped. I said, oh no, these are like not real connections. It seems for me like fake connections. So
Right.
Yeah. And so what do you suggest for like doing this more, I don't know, building real connections?
Yeah, and I think this is the entire answer to this problem right here, because every recent grad feels the same way. Right. I'm reaching out to this really powerful person. I'm not helping them. They're helping me. It feels like totally unbalanced. And that makes sense at the first stage of your career when it's all about you, right? It's like, I want to be successful myself. I don't care about other people yet. But again, if you remember what it's like to be at that next life stage where you actually want to leave a legacy, you're actually doing her a favor because you're giving her a chance to basically continue her values, continue the world that she sort of built through you as someone that she's mentoring and guiding. And it's so hard for students and recent grads to understand that because you're still at this earlier stage. And I didn't get it until I turned 40, and that's when it clicked on for me. So that's the best advice I can give you, Fatma, is give it a little time and it will all make sense, okay?
Sure. Thank you so much for that. I do really appreciate it. Thanks.
A great question. And Fatma, I wish you tremendous success. Everyone, please send Fatma so much love.
Thank you so much.
Okay, as promised, I want to stay and answer every last question that you might have about LinkedIn, networking, careers, anything we've covered, or even things we haven't covered. So put those questions in the chat. And as you do this, I'm going to share some goodies with you. Okay, so first of all, I want to let you know that the biggest goodie I can give you, especially in this busy new year, is the gift of time. You don't need to spend 100 hours on LinkedIn doing every last thing. Just do the 3 things that matter. That means number 1, get really focused on what you want to do, and that comes from talking to other George Brown alums. Number 2, when you've got that idea in your head, don't keep it locked away there. Transform it into keywords that will get you found every single day on the site. And number 3, when you're ready to start applying for jobs, don't just apply online and get locked out. Get that foot in the door that only a referral can provide. Those are the 3 things that matter. Now, to get you all the way to the promised land, a couple more goodies. Number 1, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. In fact, I'd love for you to come to my profile, click more, and then click connect, and send me a little note because it's really good practice. And oh, by the way, I'm always sharing out new ideas, new sort of little LinkedIn hacks, and that's all for free right through LinkedIn itself. So please connect with me. Number 2, if you want a book like Fatma just did, be sure to mention that in your message so I can send out that book to the GTA right away. If you did not win a free copy of the book, fear not. I can still send you either a free e-copy or a free audiobook version. So all you have to do is come over to this Amazon page and say, hey, I want a Kindle version or I want an audiobook version, and you get a Kindle Unlimited trial or an Audible trial, you download the book, and you cancel the trial right away. I do it all the time, and you keep the book forever for free, courtesy of Jeff Bezos. So there you go, a free gift straight from the founder of Amazon. And then I've got one last thing to share with you, but before I do that, I want to answer your questions. So, Miriam says, shall we put our contact information on LinkedIn, email, or phone number? Okay, Miriam, as you may have seen on my profile, specifically in the About section, I did include my email. And I know you're thinking like, oh man, now you're going to get all the spam. But here is the plight of recruiters on LinkedIn. Even when they buy that powerful LinkedIn recruiter tool, they still only have about 30 messages to new candidates every month to send, which means they have to jealously guard them and very carefully meet them out. To make it easier for recruiters to get in touch with me, I just give them my email address and say, hey, don't even worry about emails or paying LinkedIn. Just send me a regular old email. So I would say definitely include your email, maybe not your phone number or anything else, but the email itself will help out recruiters. Great question, Mariam. Okay, Kim says, what would you recommend for retirees? I've graduated from George Brown 3 times. Oh my goodness, Kim, that's so amazing. Kim, tell me what you're thinking about. Like, are you looking for the next chapter work-wise, volunteer work, board work? What's important to you? And feel free to unmute, Kim, if you can. Yeah, you're still muted for some reason. If you see the little microphone icon, maybe at the top of the team screen. Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, that cough just came up. So yeah, I graduated from before any of you were born. 1992 was my first George Brown.
Wow.
It was human services counseling, which has now morphed into the social services worker, which is what I'm doing for the city of Toronto. I can retire now in July or December of 24.
Congrats.
Then I went back and did the career work counselor and then the paralegal most recently. So I'm 3 times I graduated, but I'm very seriously thinking of pursuing the paralegal because I haven't had time to do that because my job just kept me really busy. But as a caseworker, so take note, guys, social services worker, career work counselor, And now paralegal, it's just the next natural step. So I was just wondering, this has been great tonight because I didn't even think about paralegal doing until now. Well, I mean, LinkedIn way. So I'm basically walking out the door from my career, even though people are starting their careers, it sounds like. So for retirees, I'm thinking, yeah, part-time work, pursuing paralegal, volunteer, etc. So all of the above, like you said.
Yeah.
Okay, all of the above.
And so you're kind of at the stage of like crossroads where you're like, okay, I could do this, I could do that. And you're kind of trying to think about like, what's the right path for me? Is that right, Kim?
That's correct. And
Okay.
like I said, I'm thinking of strongly of paralegal because that ties in mostly closely to what I'm doing now, which is the caseworker.
Got it.
So, yeah, and I do not want to be a supervisor. So paralegal,
Okay.
just policy, procedures, legislation. So along those lines.
Beautiful. And so what I would say is no matter what career stage you're at, whether you're just starting your career or you're starting your third career, I would actually go right back to what we were just talking about, which is everyone wants to go right into making their profile really fancy and all this stuff. But in doing so, they skip over that first critical step of what's my North Star? What am I building my profile around? And so I would go right back to step one and say, hey, can I find some paralegals from George Brown? What's their experience like? Is the industry growing or is it shrinking? Are the skills they're using the skills that I love using, or are they my kryptonite? And I think before you invest in a degree or a career path, you owe it to your future self and your future happiness to kind of build a crystal ball today. And the best crystal ball that I know of is talking to the people who already have those jobs. Okay, Kim?
Especially graduates from George Brown, probably.
Exactly, because the beauty of going to a George Brown grad,
which would have been everyone in my class from 2014 to 17, again, before most of you were born. But but I know there is a company called George Brown, but he's nothing to do with the college. It just happens to be his real name. So, okay, that's great. Yeah, I didn't think of that. I did not think of that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of the retiring right now. That's mostly on my mind right now. 7 months or 12 months. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, that's great, Jeremy.
No matter what you decide, congrats on a great curriculum, and I would love to hear that next chapter, what you end up deciding. So please keep me posted, okay?
Okay, and George Brown, folks, works. Let me tell you.
Woohoo! There you go.
I'm not in hospitality or IT or anything like that. I took the more human services, but still, all from George Brown.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, so everyone's had a lot of George Brown love, Kim's way in the chat. And then I wanted to actually end with Ricardo's question and then 2 bonuses. So if you can hang on just 1 extra minute, sorry about that. I promise to give you some goodies. So Ricardo says, with tech jobs, they often have all these conflicting or competing technologies. And I'll give you an example. One of the hottest sort of competitions in the tech space these days is, are you building your tools on Amazon Web Services, AWS, or Google Cloud, or Microsoft Azure, these competing platforms? Now, obviously, if you know all of those platforms, you should definitely list them all. Because the beautiful thing about that keyword search algorithm we were talking about, Ricardo, is that it doesn't say, oh, how much do you know about this versus how much do you know about that? Instead, it's very selfish for the employer. It says, all we care about is, do you know the skills that we crave, that we want? So if you do happen to have all those skills, I would find a place in your About section, your Experience section, your Skill section, to at least get credit for each of those skills one time, so that way that no algorithm skips over you. So don't worry so much about the competing technologies, just get credit for the totality of your experience, and that way you're going to cover your bases. Great question, Ricardo. Okay, one last thing that I wanted to share before I get into our final farewell is that thanks to Carmel and Bill, you actually have access to the LinkedIn Masterclass. I totally forgot to mention this. Now, this is an online course that is yours forever. So as LinkedIn changes, even as ChatGPT changes, I update this all the time, and you have unlimited access to it right through this link. It would normally be $100, but for you, courtesy of your amazing team, you've got that access. And Bill's got the actual George Brown link, so go ahead and use that one. And please, please, please send Bill and Carmel a lot of love, because they've got you hooked up not just today, but for the rest of your career. Okay, time for that last thing. So this is a little autobiographical, but you'll see where I'm going. When I was a grad student back in 2011, I was probably the only former kindergarten teacher at the big Apple Developer Conference in San Francisco. And yet there I was as an Apple intern watching the man, Steve Jobs, present his final keynote. And even though he was really sick at the time, he pulled out all the stops, all these new features, all this energy, even one bonus slide with those 3 magical words, one more thing. And on that morning in July of 2011, Steve introduced the world to Siri for the very first time. Now, I know that Siri is not looking too hot by comparison to ChatGPT these days, but I still feel like there's this direct line between the world that Steve ushered in that morning and the world we live in right now. So in honor of Steve, in honor of Siri, I've got one more thing for you, and I call it Profile Bot 4K. Here's how it works. The goal of this session is that I want you to have access to all the tools that give you control over your destiny. You're not just at the whims of fate, you are the captain of your own ship. And because LinkedIn gives you that power, I want to give you the power over LinkedIn. Here's what you do. You come into this tool and you say, I want to be a product manager or a social worker or a paralegal. Here is my existing CV. How can I possibly communicate inside LinkedIn, given this algorithm, all the things that will get me discovered for that new role? And what this tool will do is it will take everything I know about the algorithm and how recruiters use it to give you custom recommendations for your cover photo, your headline, your about section, even posts you can make to really stand out on the site. And this tool, like the masterclass, is 100% free forever through that link in the chat. And why am I giving it away for free? Because I want you to live out Steve's final words for us, which is, hey, life is tough. We may not always have as much time on this planet as we would like, but that does not mean that we cannot make our mark. And as this new year dawns, I want you to take this tools, the incredible George Brown team, and this opportunity to go out there and leave your own big dent out in the universe. Here's wishing you all a fantastic 2024 and incredible adventures ahead. Thank you so much.